pull you out of a police lineup, but that is how long it has been.
Yeah, indeed.
And is that a good or bad thing? Anyway.
It is hopefully a good thing or neither. I mean, if he's going to commit a crime, it's a great thing.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. I wasn't planning to, but you know.
Oh, no, I was talking to Rod, actually, but I wouldn't be able to pull you out of the line either, so that's fine.
Okay, so we're live. So welcome to the Build Working Group meeting, the Node.js Build Working Group meeting for June 22nd, 2022. We'll kick off by looking at the things which are on the agenda. And there's at least a couple more things we talked about in the issue itself as things that we might add to the agenda. If people, I'm going to paste the link to the minutes into the chat here. If people could add themselves to the present, that would be great.
Is your, just out of interest, as a point of order, is your identity in brackets GitHub or Twitter?
GitHub.
Okay.
So okay, so announcements. Anybody have any announcements they'd like to bring up?
Is your
If not, okay, we'll move on. The first one is enable HSTS on the website. I think that's actually been there for quite some time.
I think everything on the agenda has been there.
Yeah, I know everything's on the
Yes,
agenda. It's been
indeed.
quite some time. So, but maybe we'll just see if we'll go through them and then
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
quickly and get to the newer things.
So that one, I think we just have to pick a date, don't we? Well, I say pick a date. I think there's a broad agreement we should do it. We just haven't scheduled
Right.
doing it. I think the idea was we'd make an announcement ahead of time, and then, you know, if no one objects, go ahead and do it on that, you know, on that future date.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we said we would do a blog post. Blog post on the banner saying we're going to enable it on day X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we probably then want to wait for the no, that's fine. Yeah.
I guess it's like, do we have a volunteer to do the blog post, and can we pick a date is really what we could do on that to progress it.
And are we making the unencrypted subdomain go away, so we can turn this on for all subdomains?
I don't think that was the proposal. The proposal was just to
Switch the main one.
turn it on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for that specific. So
Yep.
I wouldn't mind if the unencrypted subdomain went away, but of course I'm pretty cavalier about these things.
Well, no, but it does have that notice on there, as Richard pointed out, that it was supposed to cease this year, January.
January.
Yes, indeed.
I think
There should be no expectation that it works at the moment,
I
right?
think Jordan at least confirmed that NVM's no longer, or hasn't been using that for a long time. So I don't know if anything's using it, but at least we're not aware of anything major.
Speaking of cavalier, if like the blog post is the holdup, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to just doing it. I mean, I don't know that anybody's going to see a blog post any more than they're going to see our build issues. But I'll write a paragraph or two if that's all it is, but probably better if someone else does, because I'm going to be very, very surface level. So.
But I think that's probably adequate, to be honest. As long as people can find it, that's probably good enough.
Yeah.
Because I think all that would be in there is just like, we're turning this on. That means you'll no longer be able to connect unencrypted.
Yeah.
And something to the effect of, I don't even know if we want to do that, but I was going to say, if you experience a problem, report it here. But like,
yeah, that's exactly.
We'll probably get somewhere between 3 and 30 problem reports, none of which will actually have anything to do with
anything about. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But we'll see. Maybe there's something we're missing and it'll blow up horribly on us, and we'll have to roll it back.
I mean, we can point at the enable HSTS and just tell them, comment in there if there's a problem with it. Almost.
Yeah.
It'll keep them all in one place if nothing else, as opposed to asking people to raise individual issues.
So I think the main thing is just picking a date, because the idea of the blog post would be to say it will be happening on this
Yep.
date, and just a small amount of notice, just to give if there is something obvious we've missed, which hopefully not, to allow someone to say, have you considered this?
I'll pick a date, July 13th.
Yeah, I was going to say a week on Monday, but it seems as good as any other. Yeah.
Like that's Wednesday, so it's after
Wednesday.
Tuesday. I don't know if it's related to releases at all anyway, but like, because I think the actual enabling will take no time, right? So one of us can just go in and turn it on.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
That
And
gives
if
a
we-
little bit of
have
time to get
we-
the blog post and tweet it out
What?
there.
I'm just wondering, do we still have the rule that enables the dist directory to be HTTP? Is that the main impact here? That we've still got that one path that can be HTTP, or did
I
already
think we discovered that it was not just the dist directory, like somehow you could still, we hadn't actually turned on HSTS, and so some other part you could get to.
The dist directory is served over HTTPS now. I don't know if, like this, here's a dist directory. If I understand correctly, here's a dist directory URL that works just fine over HTTPS.
Well, I think
Or is it the other way around, that HTTP will be
It was
redirected?
the other way around. So,
Yeah.
the idea,
When I go to
idea was
HTTP, it redirects now. So
yeah. So originally when HTTPS, we just left that one directory
Right.
accessible by HTTP if you wanted it, because of NVM mainly, and all the other clients out there that were doing HTTP, but everything else was redirecting to HTTPS. But if everything's redirecting to HTTPS now, then is there really going to be an impact on clients?
yeah, like if somebody accidentally clicks the on button before July 13th, I won't hold it against you, but I didn't.
I would imagine that no one's touched the configuration of what's forwarding where in the Nginx config.
I think this is coming out of Cloudflare now. We
It's
push
actually
all of this
Cloudflare.
config. Yeah.
Probably
That
even less
was
likely
like
than anyone's
Last time we went through it, it was like we realized we already forced SSL when we put Cloudflare out front.
Going by Cloudflare, it will present their certificate. Yeah. I mean, I think we're in agreement that we want to switch it on.
Yeah, I
What was
mean,
that?
the main effect will be if somebody tries to man in the middle of us, they won't be able to. So, I mean, that's
Well, yeah.
the main, that's the main effect. So,
Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
maybe
I'm not hearing
it's just
anyone
not even
objecting to
necessary.
July the 13th, so let's pick that date.
yeah, let's do it. And am I on the hook for like a 5-sentence, 2-paragraph blog post?
Yes.
If you can, that would be great.
I'm just suggesting that maybe that's not even necessary, because this may impact no one.
Yeah, I agree. It's not
Hopefully it
necessary.
won't, yeah.
It's overkill. I agree with Rod. I don't think we need to do it, and I also don't think we need to wait till July 13th. I'm like, I just want to do it right now. But
I'm not.
it's like ridiculous is how long we've been waiting to do this. It's 2022 anyway.
I think
I'm
the
thinking
risk
another
is
couple of weeks isn't
low.
going to make any difference given how long it's been. So, yeah,
Fair point.
might as well do it now. That's fine. But I take your point.
All right, blog post or no?
I
I'm
vote
just
yes.
looking in there.
Sorry.
Okay, so I think
I'm just going to do the blog post. Why not? I mean, it gives us something to have in the blog that isn't here's a release. So,
Exactly. Yeah, it's nice to have other things in there.
I guess.
okay, so I'll just take the notes so we can move on. Rich volunteered to write the blog post. We'll plan to turn on July 13th.
All right, I'll try to get I'll try to splat together a few sentences this week, but if I don't, it'll certainly be before July 13th.
I think
Sounds good.
even if you just get some rough words, we can all then pile in once something's
Absolutely.
open.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably set a timer for like 25 minutes, and whatever state it's in, I'll just open the pull request and let Richard
Yep.
Lau can fix it up, and that'll do that.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Totally happy with that.
That'll work.
You may even get other people that's outside of Build volunteering words.
Well, that's true too. Okay, the next one, just because I want to make sure we get to some of the other
Yeah.
ones.
Let's go.
In interest of establishing a build helper role, I don't know that there's anything new to discuss on this one.
No. And the thing is, most of the stuff that I've done that's build related over the last couple of weeks you wouldn't have been able to do anything with the build helper role as it currently stands. That's not to say we couldn't write things in Ansible. So this is related to the Ansible Tower setup we've got. You could always create Ansible Tower roles to do this stuff, but you have to have anticipated ahead of time what you want the tower.
It's something that we could grow it over time to add in more and more functionality.
Yeah, so I think the idea is sound, but at the moment, we don't have the, yes, here are some tasks that are common enough that we want to allow other people to do it, and that we've actually written the tasks to do. So the ones we've got at the moment are for restarting agents, and we haven't actually had the situation where I've had to restart an agent without doing additional sort of Ansibling or other config that the build helper,
the recovery and so on. Yeah.
So I think it's reasonable to sort of keep that idea there. I just don't at the moment it doesn't feel like that's an immediate win in terms of reducing the burden on build.
It may be worth sort of trying to keep that alive with, if we do find things that, you wouldn't be able to do through the Ansible roles, put suggestions in there as to things we could potentially add is about.
Well, the one that I know of that I haven't had time to get around to is the website. So it hasn't happened for a while, but occasionally there are some race conditions in the release process. That means that if the website is building, and then the website is changed again while the website is being built, the webhook doesn't cause the website to be rebuilt. So if the website is in the process of being built and another webhook comes in, that webhook basically gets ignored. So the change that came in while it's been rebuilt doesn't
lose it. Yeah. Okay.
And what we usually do then is someone that has an org admin, if you send the webhook again later on, it will just trigger the whole process again.
Yeah, sure.
And so Beth was suggesting, that would be nice, but maybe releases could just trigger a website rebuild. I mean, that's all it is. It's saying whatever the current state of the website is, please rebuild it. Stuff like that. That's outside of the scope of the original build helper, because the original build helper was sort of talking about test.
I think that's a perfect one though.
But yes, it's kind of, I haven't had time to look at that. So yeah.
Okay, so I think we're agreed on that. It's still a decent idea, but we just haven't got the ones where we can get people really engaged yet. So keep it on the list. The next one, memory issue on Fedora. I think that one I just looked at, just waiting on documenting how to add swap in the manual instructions. So nothing really to talk about.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to really talk about. And to be honest, I had a playbook modification that I think I've stashed away in a branch somewhere. So if I can dig that out and bring it up to the current Ansible scripts, that's probably good enough. I had swap in an Ansible playbook for some of the realm machines until I'd worked out we could actually provision the realm machines with more memory. So it's just something I haven't got around to. Again, I've not got around to.
Okay, so I think then probably nothing to talk about on that one. We can move on to, and let me grab this from the issue itself. Basically, the discussion about, there's some people who are working on Windows on ARM. They'd like to do some CI stuff. We seem to be in a case where we really don't have anybody who's up to speed on the Windows CI components. So helping somebody to help them add new jobs and get them running is a gap. Some discussions, like I'm even, like I would say I'd be reluctant to add Windows on ARM as a platform until we have more Windows help, because we're struggling in terms of capability just for our existing Windows. So I think what's worth discussing, exploring is like they seem to be willing to offer help. And I think if they were willing to step up to help manage the machines, the Windows and ARM machines, and investigate problems and stuff, I think we should figure out how we give them the access that they need to do that. So I was thinking we could see what other people think about that.
Yeah, I suspect the actual fact that it's Windows on ARM isn't the sort of major problem. I mean, the issue we have at the moment is that machines aren't set up in a way that builds properly, right? So we need to get some initial setup and understand what it is that we've got wrong at the moment with those sets up.
Well, we have never, as far as I know, tried to natively compile Windows on ARM
Exactly. Yeah.
On ARM.
Which is why the machines aren't set up properly. I'm suggesting.
I don't even know if the native ARM Visual Studio compiler is out of preview. So I think I saw one was announced, but I don't know if it's out of preview. So I don't know what's currently on the machine, if there is a Visual Studio at all. It may be like the x64 one and then running in a sort of emulation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost back, like the fundamental issue is like adding a platform without resources of people who will support it, unless people here are saying they're happy to be the Windows on ARM
No.
people, right? Like, you know, I know we've got people who are like, we're willing to help a little bit, but like, unless one of us is willing to step up and be the Windows on ARM person who's going to say, yeah, I'm going to keep this going, that's the problem I think we have. And that's why like that issue in terms of like, hey, can we get a job to help do this has been open for like months, is that we don't have somebody. So it's how do we figure out how to fill that gap? And I guess fundamentally what we can talk about is like, you know, the people from Linaro, if they're willing to say we commit to keep those going, are we willing to say, yes, we'll give you access, like, you know, like build double access to those machines so they can do that. And probably, you know, enough access in Jenkins as well to configure the jobs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, to be clear, we're not putting this in any particular tier, are we? That's not the suggestion, or are we?
No, I think this is, so, you know, they want to get to that point,
yeah,
but I'm like, before we can even, you know, before that has a chance.
Sure, we just need to make sure it builds and so on, and can
and we need people.
Yeah.
From my perspective, we need people stepping up and say, we are going to continue to keep that infrastructure going and running going forward, right? Versus.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I suspect it's not too much more effort than, you know, the normal Windows on x86, other than the fact that you've now got more machines. The difficult bit is going to be getting it to the stage where it actually builds it properly.
Right, but if all of, you know, honestly, on our Windows stuff today, if we had problems, I don't know who
it's already problematic.
fix
Yeah,
that, right?
Yeah,
so
indeed.
Making it worse is where I get concerned. Maybe if we get some people doing it for ARM, that helps us a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that guy that's in ARM that seems to have been quite active in that. If he's interested and they've got already something that works in the CI, I suspect we should just work with him. You know, potentially give him access to them, or either get him to work, either that or get him to work via us. Certainly, I have a slightly vested interest because I have a Windows and ARM laptop sitting down there. So I'm quite interested in platform generally. So I would certainly be willing to have some more discussions with him out of this meeting. It's a bit of a shame he couldn't join today, really, and see what the options are for that.
Yeah, I guess like what I think is reasonable is, you know, I think given that they work at a company and we can go back and sort of validate that and stuff, and that they, you know, I'm thinking if they are willing, we should be willing to say, like, we can start with the test machines to start with, like, yeah, we'll give you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It should only be the test machines that we're really looking at here, I think, until we.
Well, we don't have any Windows ARM machines in the release CI. It's all in the test CI.
Exactly, yeah. There's there 2 of them? Is that right? 2 of them in Nearform?
Yeah, 2 at Nearform, and then there's one that's on Zhao's desk, which I think is currently disconnected.
Right. Yeah.
Which is not unsurprising.
Yeah, indeed. So we've got 2 realistically.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, you know, are we comfortable giving them access to those 2 machines? So like if it's missing whatever, they can install those, also with the ask that like they create, I don't know what it is for Windows. I think Zhao might have had Ansible going. I don't know, Richard, if you know how they're configured.
There are Ansible
going. He's got, there's a lot of, there's some stuff in the manual steps about where you run Ansible. You need to install like a Python module. I've never done it. I know that there's stuff in the playbooks for setting up like a Reminer config so that you can remote desktop into the machines. So, you know, I've done that. I can remote desktop into all the Windows machines, which is enough to like kill a random node process that's hung around. I mean, that's the extent of my thing on Windows. The Windows stuff is all in command scripts, Windows command files in the build repo. So it's different to all the other platforms where most of the build config is actually in like the node repo, and then we've got a bit of scaffolding in the jobs to, you know, point at the right compilers and then call the make files with the right environment variables. But the Windows stuff is all running these command files, and again with some variables in the build config.
I think the start,
but again, this is. I was just going to say that's no different. That's a Windows versus everything else thing, right? It's not a difference between x86 and ARM Windows. So
yeah, no, I was just talking about Windows here. The Windows and ARM stuff. There's a degree of the Windows and ARM stuff that I don't actually know is actually. So there's a tick box in the existing fan job that you can do to run the tests on ARM. That's with a cross-compiled binary. I think the issue with that was Michael didn't want to give them access to that because that's the job that we're using for all of Windows. But I don't know. I mean,
yeah, I mean, yeah,
I'd probably be happy.
Well, Michael created that standalone job anyway, so I guess if we can actually get that working, then we could let him play with that potentially, and then
the issue there is I don't know how much work it will be to get that working because it's we
don't know until we try.
Yeah, that's right. So the only reason I say that is because some of the stuff that we've got on the other platforms that would be either be in the Ansible scripts or in the CI jobs on Windows for the existing stuff, like on an x64, is currently in the build repo in Windows command files. So if you're looking for logic as to how does this work at the moment in the existing jobs, it may be there rather than in Jenkins.
Right.
Yeah, we can, none of us seem to have it at the moment.
Ideally, like, I'm sure there was a good reason for the fan and all that, but like, if we could get to something simpler, that would be nice.
Yeah, sure. I assume it's performance related in some way, because obviously the ARM stuff is quite slower. But why was it on Windows?
So it's found on Windows because it actually tests on different things. So one of the things it does is add-ons. It does it with different compilers, but I don't know if we've got that many different Visual Studio versions now.
Yeah.
I don't think, for example, that we've got VS 2022 anywhere.
Sure.
I could be wrong. I don't think Jal's installed it anywhere. So I think 19 and 17, maybe 15.
On that topic, I mean, have we actually seen failures on individual compilers? The answer is no.
It may have been a long time since.
Yeah.
We tend to see failures in GitHub, so we're seeing those before we're seeing them on the Jenkins CI.
Okay. That's where I'd be tempted, like, the simpler single job build and test, if that's feasible.
Yeah,
I mean,
certainly for Windows and ARM, I think that's got to be the first step.
For Windows and ARM, there's far less variables. I mean,
not as much choice in the compiler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean that the reason that the fan stuff exists on x64 is we were testing a lot more stuff than we are on any other platform.
Sure. So it's a different reason from the ARM32. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I would suggest that we want to try and get something equivalent to the test job that you had, Michael, that I've now hacked around with a little bit, working probably by working with this guy at ARM and see where we go from there. See how productive that relationship is.
Okay, so like it sounds like I'm hearing from people that like we're comfortable giving access, like elevated access to the Windows and ARM machines and the Jenkins, like a Jenkins job at least, and so on the assumption that they're willing to step up and do that, we'll say here you go, and they can drive it. And of course, like Stuart, sounds like you're interested in helping them, and I'm sure we'll all help.
Yep.
But if they drive, that's kind of what I was hoping we could get to, that we get like a new volunteer who cares and says, I'll push this forward and ask for help.
We have the advantage that we're in the same time zone as well, because they're in the UK.
Yep. Okay. So I guess the next step then is we'll set up another separate meeting with I'm going to get the name.
I've added a message into the agenda for this meeting because he said he couldn't get it because it was a bad time for him, and asked him if he can join the OpenJS Slack so we can have some more discussions there in real time and go from there. I think that's the best thing to do.
Okay, that sounds good. So Stuart, do you want to take the action for setting up that next discussion?
Yeah, absolutely, that's fine. Yeah.
My main concern is really we make sure that they're the drivers. But
Yeah.
otherwise I don't really need to be involved if you're there.
Yeah, sure. It sounds like nobody, am I right in assuming that nobody's objecting to giving them access potentially to the machine and one Jenkins job? Is that also feasible?
+1 for me.
Yeah. Okay.
I think even like both of the ARM machines, like, and I guess the other ask to make sure is like, we don't want them to just handcraft those like we do, the ask is that they configure them in a way that like.
Oh yeah, this is repeatable, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, through Ansible and stuff like that.
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, that's great. There was one other issue which I think Rich, you'd mentioned we should try and cover.
Yes, getting access for Paulo to debug an issue 2968. Just that we should figure out who's going to handle that. Get his keys from the GitHub repo, GitHub interface, and put them in the allowed keys, and get the one machine offline, or figure out if there's another machine you should be on instead of that one. All those little details that I care about, but that can delay the thing several days.
Do we know that it requires that machine specifically? That was my only question on it.
We only run the benchmarks.
Okay.
I think on the second near-form benchmark.
But presumably, if he's going to log into a machine, it doesn't have to be that one.
I think,
or is it only reproducible on that one for some reason?
Well, it has to be one that exhibits the behavior he's seeing, and so we only know that it's on that machine and maybe the other benchmarks machine. But it could be on other machines. I don't think we actually know.
So the first,
I think
I
think it's best to give him access to that one.
Yeah, the first benchmark machine we used to build V8, so I don't really want to take that one out because that will then block all the V8 work.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to give him one that'll block anything. We want a machine.
Yeah.
We want a machine that's an extra kidney we can live without before we get it back.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm happy to give him access to the second. I'm happy with giving him access to the second one. That may block. If we took it offline, it may block benchmark runs. But given the whole thing is about benchmark stuff
It's
being
not
hung up anyway.
Benchmarks are infrequent enough that we can keep an eye on it. And
agreed. Yeah. So yeah, no objections by anyone by the sound of it. Did you say, Richard, you're volunteering to sort that out?
Maybe. Possibly.
There is maybe we should consider doing things in slightly different order. Issue number 2656.
Is that the one about upgrading?
Yeah.
16.
Yeah. Because it could be that this failure is just simply because we're running 1604 on the benchmark machines, and maybe we should try upgrading the least used one first and see if that helps anything.
It's an option. It's one that's going to take a bit more time, though, I guess. And there's a risk of
it's not. Yeah, that's right. That's the risk. And the time is. I don't think the time is the major thing. I said I would do it, but it's it's the risk.
Yeah. Indeed.
I don't know. Maybe we go the easy path and just say, Paolo, you go debug that thing, but we're going to be doing this too. I got to do this.
Yeah, it's probably it's worth certainly saying to him that if you happen to believe this is a problem with Ubuntu 16.04 specifically, then bear in mind we're looking to upgrade it. If you think that's going to fix it.
Yep. And we can prioritize that if
if he believes that's the conclusion. Yeah. Okay.
But yes, let's give a near form person access to a near form server.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so Richard, I heard sort of maybe.
I don't know when I'd be able to do that. Probably tomorrow afternoon.
Those ones aren't behind a VPN or anything silly, are they?
Or are no. You just SSH directly into them, so it's just a case of putting the key on the machine. I could do that, but it probably won't be till tomorrow afternoon. I've got some stuff in the morning.
That's fine. Yeah.
I don't think that matters.
Sorry.
it's just a matter of putting keys in, isn't it? And then saying, here you go, here's the instructions.
Yeah.
Do you want me to just do that? I can do that after the meeting.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thanks. That'd be great. Rod.
Perfect.
And it's just for that number one machine. That's right.
Number two.
Number two.
Yeah. There's 2 benchmark machines. It's number 2.
Yeah. Okay.
So this one, just to be specific, is what I put in the notes. That's the right one.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's perfect. Any other things we should add to the agenda?
So I guess on that note, Ubuntu 16, I am guessing we do have quite a lot of stuff in the CI that's actually not supported in terms of, I think I've got rid of Ubuntu 14, but I mean, we've got Ubuntu 16, although I guess there was a sort of discussion about having extended support.
So
agreements.
I've been a bit naughty. And I had a discussion with Canonical earlier this year, and they agreed to give us ESM licenses. I just needed to follow through and say how many machines, and that was.
Oh, really? Okay.
I have that contact, and I can still follow up on that. And the main concern was not so much test machines for CI; it was our infrastructure machines.
We're still running. No, is that true? We're on Ubuntu 18, aren't we, for the CI service, the 2 Jenkins?
Maybe, but.
I think we definitely are for the release one that we rebuilt last year. I think the test one is at 18, or maybe it's 16. I think confusingly it's still like labeled 14 in whichever cloud provider it's in, but I think it is upgraded to 16, or at least.
We do have a more significant server in our infrastructure that's still on 16.
Downloads.
Our main web server.
Yeah.
So,
oh, really? Okay.
That's not awesome. So, unless someone wants to volunteer for biting that bullet, I probably should follow up that contact.
What could go wrong if we just do an upgrade?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I just need a list of machines. So if we want to keep it in test for CI, then we could get license for them easily. Because there is still going to be a lot of users that are using 16 in their infrastructure and using older versions of Node, but maybe we don't care.
But is this specific to 16, or is this all versions of Ubuntu? So
I think it would.
Is still in support, but I mean, eventually 18 will fall out of support. In that, I think it's is it 2023, and then after that you need an extended support.
I think once we get it in place, then it would apply to anything we want to run in, because their interest is aligned with ours in that they want to support their users. Like they've got a financial interest, and we've got an interest in the fact that we've got a lot of enterprises that are going to be stuck on the train, and willingly so, because it's just like the Red Hat agreement now. So yeah, if we want to do that, we can. But it's a matter. It comes down to complexity and how much. Like, are we signing up for perpetual maintenance of these things, or do we want to be a bit more rigorous in chopping off support or chopping off testing anyway? It's not really support. It's just we just don't test in these things anymore. If you were on ESM and it still works for you, that's great, but we're not testing it.
I mean, I think it's more, but Richard is also like, we're using them internally, so DSM helps us with that, right?
Yeah, but when I go to Canonical and say this is how many I want, am I asking for all of the things that we're running, or are we wanting to? I mean, I could maybe I just do that now. Maybe I just go do an accounting of all the things we're running that are 16, or even we're not running 14. You say, Richard, you took all the 14s out.
I want to say that I've got rid of it. I really hope I have got rid of it. I've definitely got rid of the 32-bit 14s. I think I got rid of the 64-bit ones as well.
Well, we want to get rid of the 14, so let's not bother with that.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I'll just do an accounting and following it. I'll follow it up.
Yeah. I mean, I think we probably do want to update, like, the web server at some point. Yeah. But I mean, the situation at the moment is that obviously without anything, those 16 machines, even if we updated them, they wouldn't pick anything up. Yeah, there will be no updates for it to pick it up because they're not registered with anything. So I think that's how it works anyway, in terms of updating.
Yeah, I expect so. So yeah, if we can point them at another server, that is probably a good idea in the short term at least.
the main problem we've got in test CI is that, you know, just time, because we've got stuff which I think we need to migrate off. You know, I think we've still got Debian 8, which should go. It's just a case of going through, finding the jobs, because the problem we've got is that when we delete machines without updating the jobs, then the jobs hang because they look for machines that aren't there. I think Debian 8's been scrubbed, so, you know, when I get time, my plan is to get rid of that. But that's the major problem we've got in the CI at the moment, is that we've got a lot of things running on operating systems they probably shouldn't be running on. And we just haven't had the time, haven't had the time to go and, you know, orderly move off them and then repurpose those machines for the later.
I mean, honestly, in the case of things like Debian 8, my approach would just be, if we decide that we don't really want to test on it, and I don't know why we would necessarily when it's out of support, is try and upgrade the machine. If it doesn't upgrade, trash it and deploy a new one, frankly.
Yeah, the thing is, though, if you rename them in Jenkins, you get a new secret, so you're effectively setting the thing up from scratch anyway.
Yeah, true.
Plus, I think, and this goes back to the Fedora thing that was on the thing earlier about swap memory. Some of those really old VMs have only got like 2 gig of RAM, which I suspect would struggle a bit with current node builds.
Yeah, they're running okay at the moment, presumably, aren't they? So it would only be a case of if the memory had increased as well.
Node 12, which is where most of this old stuff was running. Yeah, 12 is end of life, but that was what.
Yeah.
That is a lot lighter on terms of resources for building than.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it's a huge difference. It builds a lot faster than so it's all V8, you know, really.
Yeah. I've seen that chew up a crazy amount of memory sometimes. I thought my 4 gig ARM machine would be fine for compiling.
In terms of infrastructure, so we've got a rather woolly statement in the build repo that says we keep infrastructure around for 6 months after the end of life of a release. I think we could kind of stretch it a bit and say that kind of applies to like the release stuff and the test stuff. We could probably just move the test stuff on more current stuff within reason. I don't really want to, you know, keep stuff like Debian 8 around longer than I have to. And you know, I've even seen things now. I think IBM Cloud told us that Debian 9's they won't even allow us to provision new Debian 9 machines after.
Right. I think it's out as well. No.
End of this month. End of this month. We've got Debian 9. But I mean, the only reason I say that is because one of the Debian 9 machines I had to rebuild today. I rebuilt it. I had to reload.
Oh, right.
And you know, it's kind of like, well, do we need it? Maybe we could just move it on, but it's kind of balancing out, because at the moment, without that rebuilding that one, we were down to the one machine. So I don't like being in a position where we've only got one machine, because it really then is a single point of failure for a single platform. So
Okay, anything more we should talk about on that one? It sounds like, Rod, you know which ones you'll ask for, and
I'll just go through the inventory and make a list and send that off.
Yeah, it sounds reasonable. I mean, I think we could possibly exclude like the containers, because we have a lot of Ubuntu containers. I wonder, I'm kind of feeling with the containers, we just move them on to whatever the later Ubuntu is.
Didn't we already do that for the containers that are actually used? Because we got the containers that
they're
are not used.
They're all on 18 at the moment. I think we've got a couple of 20 containers, but we're not really running anything in them at the moment. So I mean, that's an option to migrate the container workloads to Ubuntu 20 or even Ubuntu 2022, I think.
Yeah, we should definitely consider getting 2204 onto at least one system somewhere to verify that it works in there.
But yeah, I'm not.
Maybe once we trash the Debian 8 one. The ARM64 ones are 2004 as well, aren't they? We haven't got any 2204s.
I mean, 1804 should be good for another year or two. I think it's 2023. The free support runs out, and then after that, so
yeah, we've got a bit of time.
It is something to consider, but we can kick it down for a month or two. Well, I'd say a month or two, a couple of months, probably like a year's time.
So anyway, yes, I think it's probably worth opening that discussion with Canonical again and seeing if we get some support for a few of the systems that we have left. If that's okay, Rob?
Yeah, I'll CC build at. Anyone else want to be on the list to, be nice to have a relationship that other people are involved in. So anyone else want to be named specifically on there?
Yeah, me if possible. That's actually one thing I was going to ask is how do I get onto that list? Because I don't think I'm on it at the moment.
I think we've just we've limited it to infrastructure stuff because it's like a password reset for maybe.
Right. Okay. Fair enough.
And maybe we need to expand it because we do use it sort of as a generic catch-all for build issues. Just throw it to there. So it's really it's me and Michael. I think Joao and I mean it's not. I
think Richard's
not really that useful.
Yeah, it's everyone in infrastructure, Michael. So
okay.
I guess
it probably should. We probably shouldn't be using it in this way. In other words, but we don't have a better one other than just manually including people.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. But anyway, on that topic, if you can CC me, that would be great.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. Any other topics for this week?
No, it's just sort of the regular sort of machines going up and down. I think at the moment most of it's been taken care of. We had issues with the ultras that Stuart talked to Equinix about, so we've migrated we've migrated the problematic one to a different machine, and so far I have not seen that one go down. So fingers crossed.
No, I will probably have to do something on that one because there's a special thing you have to tweak in the way it's booting after you do an install, which I haven't done on it yet. But let's leave it for now and see if it crashes.
And then there was some weird temporary blip at Marist that knocked out all the S390 machines, but that seemed to resolve itself. So haven't heard
that wasn't specific to Node.js either. It hit machines for other projects. It was a generic outage at Marist by the look of it, and the machines didn't go down. I presume it was a networking problem or something because they all reconnected to Jenkins at some point, and the uptime was still good. So unusual.
Apart from that, we've just been really unlucky with machines over the last couple of weeks with things going down, not coming up, or in some cases being wiped and having to be completely rebuilt. So build is a ongoing conveyor belt of invisible, hopefully no one notices tasks.
Okay, speaking of which, I did have an issue that's not on the agenda, which is the Raspberry Pis.
Yes.
Which we are currently not. They're not enabled in CI. They need upgrading. They're still running.
They are
past them yesterday, and I thought
they are running on Node early. They're running on Node versions earlier than 18. So Node 18, they're not running, and that was because we bumped the glibc version. But for
are we? So they are actually still trying to run. Like I thought we disabled them because there was some.
So if anyone kicked a Node 16 CI or Node 14, and I think the Node 12 daily builds probably are still running. So the Node 12 dailies, every daily Node 12 build will be running on them. But not on the regular PR CIs or the daily.
Okay, so they are actually still being used. I do need to tend to them. I was just going to see because I was under the impression that we'd disabled them because we disabled them because there was a problem and then we were just using. But if we're still running them for the old ones, that's fine.
Yeah, no, that was just for 18 where we do have some containers set up, right?
They could be disabled everywhere. So I left them running because they were sort of working. I mean, the CI is running on them and it's passing, so I'm assuming. But the issue with Node 18 was the glibc version. So we only have. Is it containers for 8 and 9? Just Debian 8 and 9, and not 10?
Yeah. That was the task there. So Richard, you gave me a playbook to run, and I haven't run it. And I guess my broader question is: do we want to? Are we okay with retiring them?
So we are currently running the ARM7 testing on the Ultras in a 32-bit ARM VM, and apart from the fact that the machine wasn't coming back up when it got into the restart loop, which hopefully this replacement machine will solve, I believe it's been much more reliable in terms of
and fast.
Yes, definitely fast.
Yeah, the only thing to bear in mind on that is that obviously that's running a 64-bit kernel, whereas a true 32-bit system would be running a 32-bit kernel. I presume most of the Pis are running a 32-bit kernel, are they, Rod?
Yeah.
I'm Raspbian one or something. No, it's not. It's something else on the host, haven't you? It'll be a 32-bit something or other.
I'm pretty sure it's only 32-bit. Yeah, I don't believe we went to. Oh no, hang on a minute. It says ARM64, so maybe for the threes there was ARM64 running. So
okay, yeah, they're definitely capable of it. So.
Debian 10 ARM64, whereas the Pi 2s are V7.
They're only 32-bit, so yeah, you can't put a 64-bit kernel in those.
I mean, I think that might be some track record for we haven't seen anything. We haven't come across anything that was caught on one versus the other. So that's probably another data point that using the ultras is. I think we had some discussion where we wanted to get the ultras reliable. Once they were reliable, then
we'd look at migration fully across.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, as the test suite continues to expand, the Pis become more and more of a problem to run tests on. So yeah. Okay, so for now,
let's revisit this in the next meeting. Then we've got the new Ultra up literally in the last few days. We can see what the reliability is like. Move forward on that, because the other advantage is obviously we're not using the fanned job for those as well.
Yes, which makes it simpler. And
we are. So we've got CI job for ARM64, and that's an all-in-one job. But the ARM fanned, so the ARM7 testing is still being tested in the fan job. I added a second binary test job that runs on the ARM7 containers instead of on the Pis. So it is still cross-compiled and then fanned across to the ARM7 container.
But we could look at changing that, right?
Potentially. We could even potentially look at compiling that ARM7 thing actually in that container.
That's what I meant, like just just a single job that builds and basically builds and runs all the tests, right? Because those ultras should be fast enough.
As long as the compiler doesn't get confused and try and produce a 64-bit binary.
So
if it's running a 64-bit kernel.
So the only thing there is So the reason we're still cross-compiling is because of like the glibc versions for ARM7. It's a bit the operating system choice for ARM7 is a little bit more limited than say ARM64 or ARM version 8. That seems to be the way it is. Possibly we could find a sort of close Debian match for ARM7. But I remember looking at it. There's no Red Hat operating system, for example, that will run on ARM7. It requires ARM8 and above. So we don't have that as a container. So it's going to be like a Debian or Ubuntu variant. So at the moment we're cross-compiling. We're using that cross-compiled tool chain that Rod has. And
there is a point at which we can retire ARM7. Like ARM7 is still ancient. Like ARM6 is even more ancient. We did retire that. It's just there will be people who squeal because they're still used on low power devices. And
exactly.
I think you get things like the Pi Zero come out. So
indeed.
And I think like the retiring or not is, I mean, that can be separate. So we may still have it fanned with a bunch of the ARM7 cross compiles to start with, but so we should make that decision first, and then we can later look at whether we can consolidate at some point or not. Anything more on that one that we should talk about?
I had a feeling, I thought there was a CentOS or something for ARM32. You had a look for that, Richard, at all?
Well, CentOS is end of life. Well, 7 wouldn't be long enough. So CentOS 7.
True, it wouldn't be long enough. That's true.
It's I forget the year. It's not it's not the lifespan of Node 18. CentOS 8 is dead, and I don't know if Stream supports ARM7. Oh, it might do. I don't know. I can't remember. I think center stream isn't on Docker. I think it's in Key, and I don't know whether they've got a 7 port in that.
Yeah.
But something we can look at offline, I guess.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. I'm catching up on them. Yeah.
Okay, any other topics for this week? We seem to have managed to fill the whole time, so we're pretty much at time as well.
Yeah, which is good. It's good to have everyone together.
Yeah, true. Okay, well then we'll close it for this week. Thanks for everybody who took the time, anybody who's watching live or watches the video afterwards, and we'll see everybody in GitHub in next time. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, cheers. Bye.